Hello there, Wipper here, and welcome back to another mod showcase. And you've probably noticed that I'm in North Yankton for this one, and that's because I'm going to be showing you two rather interesting off-road vehicle mods today. The first of which is very unique indeed, and seemed to me like it'd be perfect for this kind of snowy environment. And you'll have to ignore the weather for this video, because we are in North Yankton, and it just has a mind of its own. But now I'm going to turn around and do the great reveal for the first car I'm going to be showing you. And here it is. This is the Jeep Cherokee XJ Snowhawk edition. Now, when I first saw this car, I wasn't quite sure what I was looking at. So I turned to Google, did some research, and it turns out this is a standard stock Jeep Cherokee, but with some mat tracks on it. And Mat Tracks is a company which specializes in the production of conversion kits, which add these rubber tracks to a variety of 4x4 vehicles. So this mod creator has somehow managed to recreate those in GTA 5, and if you look closely at them, they're so detailed. It's really impressive how well they've been recreated by this mod creator, and I believe his name is Bagged. He makes some really cool off-road vehicle mods, so make sure to check out his mods in the link below. But yeah, so it just looks insanely cool, doesn't it? It's something I've never seen before in GTA 5. I've never seen an off-road vehicle like this in the game. And it remains to be seen whether it's actually going to be good at off-roading though. But I'm just going to give you a quick tour of the car here, because if we go around to the back, you'll see we have a tow hitch. So I'll have to remember that that exists and test that out later on by towing a trailer of some sort to see whether it's effective as a towing vehicle. But now let's just hop inside the car and take a look at the interior to see what we've got going on inside. See if the gauges work. So let's rev the engine. Yep, the tachometer works. And the speedometer works, which is always nice to see. Everything seems to be textured inside in the interior. But the mirrors, yeah, they're not really working, are they? If they are working, they're extremely low resolution. Probably the lowest resolution I've ever seen in my life. You can't see anything out of them. But yeah, so those need some work. But apart from that, a really nice model, to be honest with you. Really nice. But what we can do now is check out the customization options for this bad boy. Now, there aren't too many options, so if I go into the menu here and go to modifications, you'll see that just about the only thing you can do here, outside of window tinting and license plates and stuff like that, is apply 3 different extras. Extra 1 adds a winch on the front, as you can see there. Extra 2 adds a snorkel, looks pretty cool. And then we have Extra 4, which adds this roof rack and floodlight combo, and the floodlight does indeed work. We also have a shovel, but I imagine we won't make use of that considering we've got these really impressive looking tracks on our car, so I very much doubt we're going to be getting stuck in any kind of snowdrift. But there is one last thing I need to show you here, which I almost forgot, and that is that you can change the colour of the inner frame of the tracks. So if I go to the paint menu here and go to the wheels, misleading because they're not wheels, you can change the colour of these track frames. So we could go for a yellow for that construction vehicle kind of look, like that. But I personally, to make it more realistic looking, like to go to the metal section and use the brushed aluminium finish, which looks like that. But now I think it's time to go for a drive and see how this Snowhawk Jeep copes with off-roading. I should probably mention, before we do anything, that I've also got a mod called Forested North Yankton installed, which adds extra foliage and stuff to the map, as well as a few scenarios, such as like logs fallen on the road, cars buried in snow on the side of the road, which looks really awesome. So keep an eye out for those. There's going to be quite a few changes that you're going to notice as I drive around. Let me just get a closer look here at the tracks to see if they're fully animated, and they are. Look at that. That looks really cool. All the inner mechanics of the tracks seem to be fully animated. That's incredibly detailed. Look at that. That is awesome. It just looks so intimidating as you're driving along though, doesn't it? I've never seen anything quite like it. I wasn't even aware that this was a thing in real life, so to see it in GTA 5 is really surprising. But I do need to find something on this map that we can use to really test out the off-roading capabilities of this car. I am worried about using North Yankton for this because it's not really a very good map for testing out stuff like this, because there's not really much to drive over. No massive mountains or anything like that. But I have got my eye on this frozen bush on the right here. I think this will work well for an initial test. So let's approach it slowly here and drive over it. Well, we've dealt with that quite well. Although I'm not sure whether that was due to the impressive suspension setup it seems to have, or whether it was due to the tracks. We'll have to do some more testing here. Got another bush we can drive over here. There we go. Very easy. It is a bit glitchy, I am noticing that. But you kind of expect that. Let's navigate through these trees, which appear to be floating. Oh dear. Anyway, so what else can we test out this car with? We could drive over this bush. Why not? Oh! Frozen riverbed covered in rocks. Let's do some rock crawling, or in this case it's more pebble crawling, considering the size of these rocks isn't what you'd normally call rock crawling. Let's approach these rocks now, drive over them. Seems to be dealing with them quite nicely, although I am noticing that the vehicle is kind of getting popped up and down. It pings up and down as you drive over the rocks. I think that might just be the physics engine struggling to work out how to handle these tracks instead of wheels though. It's probably thinking, what on earth are these? These wheels are triangular. What am I meant to do with those? But while we're down here, we need to find something else to test. And we've got these really steep riverbanks which we could try and drive up here to see how much power this thing has, how much traction it's got. Driving up some really steep gradients. That must be like an 80% gradient, which is ridiculous. Not many cars in real life could drive up something like that, so we might need a bit of a run up here. But here we go. Let's approach it. Oh, look at that. I think we could almost, with a run up, make it up to the road there. That's super impressive. This thing has so much power, so much torque. But let's turn around and get a nice run up here. Try and avoid the rocks. Can we make it to the road? No, I hit the underside of the bridge. And we almost did a backflip there. But yeah, it definitely has a lot of power. It's dealing with these really steep inclines with no problem whatsoever. Just super impressive. I have found a field full of hay bales, and it's very tempting to try and drive over one of these. So let's approach one slowly and see if we can drive over it. I didn't think that through, did I? Oh, that hasn't... Okay, I think with a bit of a run-up, we could possibly do this. It's not ideal, but I think we can do this. Just need to get enough momentum here. Come on, you can do it! Mount the hay bale! Mount it! Yes! Oh no, it's not happening. It is not happening. Ah, now I've spotted the perfect field for testing the suspension on this Jeep. I have fond memories of this field just being completely ridiculous to drive over. But with the suspension setup and the tracks that this car has, this should be no problem at all. It should be super smooth. Let's test it out. Oh, that looks so cool! Look at it go! If I drive at an angle, it looks even better. Oh, look at the undulations of the suspension springs there. That is so cool. Just look how smooth this is from inside the car. You'd be fooled into thinking you were driving on smooth tarmac or something. It's just that smooth. Incredibly smooth. So there's one last thing I need to test out, which I almost forgot about, and that is how well this works as a towing vehicle, because it of course does have the tow hitch on the back, which hangs down really low, so you can actually attach it to a trailer. Otherwise it wouldn't really work very well, would it? So I've spawned down a nice trailer with a wheelbarrow in, some axes, a bucket, and let's see how well this Snowhawk works as a towing vehicle. So let's back up to the trailer now and see whether we can tow it. I'm imagining this is going to work just as you'd expect. Probably no surprises here. Everything is definitely going to fly out of that trailer though. The moment I start to drive around, yep, we've lost the wheelbarrow already. But look at this, it works perfectly. Let's try and do some turns here. Look at the insane angle we've got going on with this trailer. It seems like the trailer has no traction, no grip at all on this surface, but with my tracks, I can do perfect donuts, perfect circles in fact. I mean, look how perfect these circles are. Just so much grip with these tracks. But I think to end this test, we do need to try and get everything out of the trailer. It's just swinging from side to side, but I want to throw everything out of this trailer. So let's go over this jump. Look at it go. Just catapulted all the items onto that barn there. Oh, that was cool. That was really cool. But yeah, so that's pretty much everything I wanted to show you for this Snowhawk. It's time to move on to the next off-road vehicle. So this is the Sandking XL. Not quite sure what the HD stands for, but that's what the mod creator calls it. Maybe something like heavy duty or something along those lines. Don't know what else it would stand for. But I like to think of this as basically a monster truck version of the Sand King that's already in the game. It has a few body modifications, such as this rather menacing looking front grille with the skull and crossed swords there. And I've just this moment noticed how low poly this front metal bumper is. I'm pretty sure that's meant to be a smooth surface. But look at how impressive this suspension system is and the size of these tyres. They're huge. Maybe not quite as huge as the monster truck tyres, but these things are still mighty impressive. And we've got some, what does that say, fuel rims? I'm presuming these are based on a real set of rims that exist, that have just been recreated in GTA 5, and kind of suit the style of this vehicle pretty well, I'd say. But looking at the suspension here and just the sheer size of this thing, I mean, look at the ground clearance. I could almost crawl underneath it. It's just that big. I imagine this is going to be an absolute beast off-road. But one thing I do want to do quickly is actually compare this directly to a Sand King, the original stock Sand King, and a monster truck. So I'm just going to spawn those down now. So now I've got them all lined up, you can see that it basically dwarfs the original Sandking XL. It's just so much bigger in every single way. But you can clearly see the design influence between the two. They're very similar. Just a few slight modifications on this one. But if you go over to the monster truck on the left here, I'd say they're of a similar size pretty much. The only difference being the tyres on the monster truck are just so much bigger, both in width and height. So whether that makes the monster truck a lot better at off-roading remains to be seen, but I'm presuming it's going to fit somewhere in between the Sand King and the monster truck in terms of how it handles off-road. But what I want to do now is hop in and show you some of the customization options that are available for this Sand King monster truck. So the customization, let me just pull forward a bit so you can see this better, but the customization works in a similar way to the Snowhawk, in that you've got loads of extras which you can enable and disable, and each one of these adds a separate thing to the car. So the first one adds a little step to help you get in the car. Extra 2, what does that do? Adds a roof rack with a floodlight, very similar to what we saw on the Snowhawk. Extra 3 adds a hard top back. Not really a fan of that look though, so I'm not going to use that myself. Extra 4 adds 2 additional lights low down on the bumper at the front. Extra 5 adds another floodlight just in front of the grille. Lights galore! Gah, do these all work? Yes they do! Wow, you could blind people with the amount of lights on this car. Anyway, so extra 6 is a spare tyre rack in the back. That looks really cool actually, I'm definitely going to use that. Extra 7 adds, what does that add? Ah, a sun visor for the front windshield. Extra 8 is a storage box in the back. Again, looks really nice. Extra 9 adds the snorkel, very similar to what you saw on the Snowhawk. Extra 11, okay, so it skipped out extra 10 for some reason. Extras 11 and 12 you can just ignore because they don't seem to do anything. But yeah, so that's basically it for the customization options. But let's go for a drive now and compare the off-road capabilities of this beast in comparison to the Snowhawk. And I fully expect it to dominate it in every single area because this is just an absolute beast, he says as he crashes into a lamppost. Let's take the exact same route as we did before. So let's start by driving over this hedge, which is absolutely no problem for this beast. Look at that. It's like it was going over a speed bump. Let's get airborne. Whoa, too much air. Oh no, I've blown up my car. Oh dear, no. Didn't intend to do that. But let's do the climbing up a steep gradient test here to see how powerful it is. Oh yes, I think it's even better at this than the Snowhawk was. It's so powerful. In fact, I think with a run-up, this is quite capable of actually getting back on the road. Like I thought was possible with the Snowhawk, but didn't actually turn out to be the case. I think this definitely has a chance of doing that. So let's get a nice big run-up here. I think there's a rock in the way. Doesn't matter. Here we go. Oh yes, right up the top of the telephone pole. Look at that. That's crazy. Okay, well, almost made it, I think. We were super close with that attempt, weren't we? So I'm going to back it up and try it again with a slightly different angle here. I think with a better angle, we can definitely make it onto the road from here. It just all depends whether we hit the post or not. Just got to avoid these rocks. Come on, onto the bridge. Flip it around. Come on. Yes, we've done it. Maybe not the most graceful thing you've ever seen, but it managed it. It's just so powerful. And with those massive tyres, it dealt with that no problem at all. But now it's time for my favourite test, and that is the hay bale test. So let's approach one of these hay bales and see whether we can drive over it. I think this will just be easy for this. Here we go. Yeah, look at that. No problem at all. And while we're here, I may as well do the suspension killing test where we drive over this really bumpy field and see what the suspension does and how it deals with it. The undulations of the shock absorbers there just looks so cool, doesn't it? So let's go into first person and see how smooth it looks. Yeah, it's extremely smooth, look at that. But there is one more thing I wanted to test out with this monster truck Sand King, and that is trying to drive over that massive pile of hay bales. So shall we attempt this slowly maybe? So the tyres have time to contact the hay bales. Let's see whether that works, come on! Oh yes, that was satisfying. Cleared it no problem at all, that was just so easy. I was kind of expecting that though, because this is just so good at off-roading. It's just so good.